And now for the biggest wing of my main factory. The oil wing. So entrance here, which is different to the rest as it actually goes through the belts transporting copper ore into the copper wing. So as you enter, this is the packaging area of the oil wing. On the end here we have packaged biofuel, which has its own production facility here, storage for leaves and wood into constructors, and then into another constructor to make bio logs, and then into a refinery to make liquid biofuel, into storage, back into a packager to package the biofuel for use. We have fuel packager. This fuel is pumped from the main oil production floor. We have just oil packaging, water packaging, residual fuel packaging, which you can see has a splitter, has a smart splitter, splitting the overflow off, sending it to a sink elsewhere in the factory to help the production line be automated and constantly running, so that I can constantly make fabric using the alternative fabric recipe in this factory. Here we have the turbo fuel packager, which is packaging excess turbo fuel from the turbo fuel refineries there that power the turbo fuel generators. And here we have another 4 packages that are not in use that I have got put in place for further updates. I expect that they will all be running for update 4. So here we have the refineries producing the turbo fuel for the turbo fuel generators power plants. This is where the heavy residual fuel is being made for the packager. It is also put into other areas of the factory in the logistics underneath, going to the main factory floor, oil factory floor up there. This little production line here is making plastic, and then plastic containers for the packaging. These 6 refineries here are making the alternative fabric recipe going into the main factory for use in making gas masks and radiation masks. So just a quick view here of the turbo fuel generators wing. These generators produce enough electricity to power this wing independently if the need should have arisen, and it did so for quite some time before I moved to nuclear power. Here we have storage for fuel to be turned into turbo fuel. Okay, this is the main oil production floor for this oil wing of my factory. In front of me here we have the awesome sink, allowing all items to overflow and be recycled, producing tickets. By having the residual fuel and regular fuel packaged and recycled, I'm allowing this factory to run constantly. The only areas of this factory that do not run constantly are the final outputs for plastic and rubber and petroleum coke. If these items are not needed elsewhere in the factory, then it will just back up into its own central storage in the basement level, which I will show you soon. And then the machines will just go into standby, waiting for more items to need to be produced. So I tried to keep this as clean as possible. Of course, a lot of things have changed over time, and there's needed to be more refineries added, changes here and there, so it's not ended up being the way I finally wanted it to be, but still, I think it works. Oop, I'm just noticing a slight bend in the belt there. These refineries are mostly color-coded as to what they're doing, so we're packaging fuel. This fuel is not going elsewhere in the factory, it is just simply being packaged and recycled, allowing any excess stock of heavy fuel that isn't being used by refineries to be packaged and recycled so the system doesn't back up with excess fuel. So yes, they are mostly color-coded, so 3 refineries there making rubber, 2 here making plastic, more here making rubber, another 3 behind here again making rubber, another 3 there making rubber. All the refineries along the back here, other than the few that you can see in the center that are colored differently, are doing their residual fuel recipe with outputting residual fuel and polymer resin for the plastic and rubber recipes. These ones here in the middle are making the regular fuel and the outputting of polymer resin. These 3 factories just here, these 3 refineries just here in front of me are making petroleum coke for use in the steel wing. And all the remainers along here are all making residual fuel and polymer resin. I have the system set up so that all polymer resin flows this direction, fills these machines. The overflow then goes around the back, comes back down the front, travels along collecting other polymer resin as it goes, filling up each container along here, then moving along, going around the back, using a smart splitter to fill the containers for the rubber production here. The overflow then travels around the side, fills these containers for rubber production here, overflows here, fills these containers here for rubber production, and any overflow will come around and just head to the awesome sink. There is more polymer resin being produced in this factory than what is needed. I am just waiting for these containers here to fill up before the rest heads off to the sink. Here we have my train spiral, bringing the oil train down from on top of the mountain. Anyone that has seen my Fixmas factory tour, you will see that the design for this spiral is the same. This is central storage for the oil coming into the factory by train. So oil receiving. Some refineries in this wing are overclocked. Just to make sure there is enough polymer resin and turbo fuel being produced. Sorry, not turbo fuel. Polymer resin and regular fuel. These three refineries here are making plastic. They fill up their containers. The overflow of the plastic then goes up across this way and heads down to a storage area for storage, and then shipped off to the main area of the factory. Now this plastic isn't connected to the sink to make sure that all refineries here have a constant supply of plastic. Okay, this is the logistical area of my oil wing. It has slowly turned into a little bit of a mess under here as time's gone on. So we have rubber storage here, which then comes across, merges into the main conveyor to head off to the main factory. Same with the plastic that was coming from up the top, merges with the main belt to head off to the factory. As you can see at the moment the belt is full, which implies that we do not need any plastic in the factory at the moment, or I'm just producing way more than I actually need. And the top level is the petroleum coke that is heading off to the steel wing of the factory. Because my requirements for rubber are so high, I've had to create two separate conveyor systems for the rubber. So we have one conveyor belt here going into the main factory, and another one going there into the main factory. Now these two belts both go into the same storage area of rubber on the main factory floor, which you will see in a future video in the central storage for the main factory floor, and then head off there to other lines for production. Small plastic, some rubber, pipes. Everything is color coded to help identify what it is. So we have rubber coming in here, its own storage, coming across, being merged with the production line here, heading off to storage from the production line here as well, into storage, then coming across, being merged here with another production line, and heading into the storage box, and then heading off to the main factory. Here we are also having this rubber come out. This rubber is actually going back into the system to produce plastic, but any rubber that is not needed to produce plastic goes through the smart splitter and is sent off to join the rest of the rubber to the main factory floor. We also have residual fuel pipes and the water pipes that are being used in the recipe with polymer resin to make the rubber. So the heavy fuel. So it's not as organized as I would like it to be down here, as it's been modified so many times as things go. But I kind of see that as how a factory would run, as they start producing new items. Things change over time. And as you'll see in a later video, my factory has been expanded upon. There's me, as I'm sitting in spectator mode mod, as I'm using the spectator mod to record. So I just dropped myself off there, so hello the back of me. So yeah, as you can see as we look around, buildings have been adapted upon over time, which you will see more of in a future video. Added, things removed, more things added, more things removed. When it first started, this was all perfectly square buildings, all perfectly the same. But as things have gone on, more items have needed, updates have come out, things have changed, and things have been added, as it always does.